The great silver squeeze of 2026. Nobody warned you this would hit your wallet this fast. At the start of the year, silver broke into the low 70s per ounce and did not look back. Overnight, your phone, your car, your laptop all quietly got more expensive to build. And no one on TV told you why. They just said supply issues, like it was some random glitch in the system. It was not random. It was the start of the great silver squeeze of 2026. A squeeze that regular folks did not vote for and cannot opt out of. Because silver is not just some shiny coin in a prepper's safe. It is inside your solar panels, your EVs, your chips, your 5G towers, your medical gear. Modern life runs on a metal most people never think about. And that's exactly why this story is so dangerous. By the time the average American hears the word squeeze, the smart money is gone. The game started months earlier, in boardrooms and trade desks you will never see. Big players started hoarding physical metal while retail was stuck in paper promises. You were told to buy the dip in tech while they bought the dip in metal. You stared at stock tickers. They stared at warehouse exit doors. You worried about gas prices at the pump. They worried about how many ounces they could pull before the shelves went bare. This is how every big squeeze begins. Not with a headline, but with a quiet inventory chart that suddenly bends straight down. Vaults that looked full on last quarter's report start looking thin in real time. Contracts say there is metal. Forklifts say there is not. And when those two worlds clash, prices do not walk higher. They sprint. Now ask yourself one simple question. If the metal inside your phone, car, and power grid suddenly costs more, who eats that cost? Do you think the corporations will take that hit out of kindness? Or do you think they will pass it to you in higher prices and garbage shrinkflation? Less product, same price, and a quiet little silver tax on your life. That is the squeeze you never voted for. And here is the part that should bother you. Most people still think silver is just some old school coin you flip at a flea market. They do not see it as a strategic resource wrapped around every wire in their house. They do not see that a metal crunch today is an electronics crunch tomorrow. TV hosts will blame greedy companies and election drama. They will not mention the simple math behind the shelves. Too many new uses, not enough new mines. Too much leverage, not enough real ounces. When a system leans on paper, claims instead of real metal, it can fake it for a while. Until the day somebody says, deliver. Not roll the contract, not cash settle. Deliver the metal right now. That is when the illusion cracks. And that is where 2026 is quietly pushing us. The great silver squeeze of 2026 did not start with a TikTok trend. It started with something way more boring and way more deadly. A slow drain in the warehouses that actually store real metal. Day after day, week after week, more ounces going out than coming in. On paper, the system said everything was fine. In the real world, forklifts were moving pallets that were not being replaced. This is the split between screen world and real world. Screen world runs on charts, models, and smooth talking analysts. Real world runs on trucks, miners, and guys with hard hats and broken backs. When those two worlds disagree, trust the guys covered in dust. Because your phone does not run on opinions. It runs on atoms. And silver is one of those atoms you cannot fake or print. While you were being told inflation was cooling, something else was heating up. Industrial demand for silver did not take a break. Solar build-outs kept climbing. Data centers kept gobbling more power and more wiring. EV makers did not suddenly decide to use less metal. They all lined up at the same shrinking pile of ounces. This is the core of every shortage story. Demand does not have to explode. It just has to stay strong while supply quietly slips. At first, the system hides it with clever tricks. They tap old stockpiles. They lease metal. They play musical chairs with the same bars on different balance sheets. That buys time, but it does not create new ounces. You cannot spreadsheet your way out of a physical problem. And that is where regular people get blindsided. They think if the price is still under control today, the problem is small. They do not see the pressure building behind the dam. They only see the crack after it gives way. By the time the price chart goes vertical, it is already too late to be early. The insiders are not buying that day. They are selling to you. You become the exit liquidity for a trade you never knew existed. You pay record prices for metal they locked in months ago. They walk away with profits. You walk away with risk. That is how the game is designed. And the worst part is simple. Nobody's going to explain this to your kids when their stuff gets crazy expensive. They will just be told that is how things are now. Higher prices, lower quality, constant upgrades, endless payments. A slow bleed instead of a single obvious wound. But squeezes are not just about price. They are about trust. Trust in money, trust in banks, trust in what is real versus what is promised. When people see paper claims wobble, they look for something solid, something they can hold in their hand that does not vanish with a policy change. That is why every real squeeze ends in the same place, a rush for the door marked physical. When trust in paper cracks, people do not say it out loud at first. They feel it. They feel it when rent jumps, but their paycheck does not. They feel it when a grocery run costs the same as a car payment. They feel it when every bill creeps higher while the news says inflation is under control. That gap between what they live and what they are told is where anger grows. And anger is rocket fuel for a squeeze, because once people stop trusting the story, they start chasing anything real. In America, that usually means three things: land, food, and metal. Especially metal the system cannot print away on a Sunday night vote. Gold gets all the glory. But silver is the workhorse hiding in plain sight. It is the metal of the middle class. The metal you can still buy with a normal paycheck. The metal your grandfather might have stashed without telling anyone. When the big money grabs gold, the regular folks who wake up late turn to silver. They cannot afford monster bars. They grab coins, small bars, junk silver, whatever is left. Each wave of fear pulls more small buyers into a shrinking pool. And that is when the shelves start to look weird. One week, your local shop has plenty of rounds and bars. Next week, the owner shrugs and points to a tiny corner of inventory. Premiums spike before spot does. That is the canary in the coal mine. The real world is screaming before the chart on your app even twitches. Online, you will see the same pattern. Ships in 6 weeks, out of stock. Limit 2 per customer. The language of shortage hides in fine print long before it hits headlines. By the time mainstream news admits there is a supply issue, the story is already old. The early birds are done hunting. The late crowd is left fighting over scraps. And that is where your viewer is sitting right now, stuck between a system that says relax and a gut that says move. This is where the silent ledger steps in. Not to sell panic, to show the math, to show the pattern, to show how every empire that played games with money ended up in the same ditch. Not overnight. One small lie at a time, until people finally snapped and ran toward anything solid. Here is the hard truth most people never hear. You do not beat a squeeze by chasing the spike. You beat it by front running the panic. That means you do not wake up one morning, see silver flying, and go all in. That is how you become the bag holder in someone else's game. The goal is not to guess the top. The goal is to not be naked when the tide goes out. So step 1 is simple. Drop the lottery mindset. Stop thinking in moonshots and meme charts. Start thinking in insulation. You do not buy silver to get rich by Friday. You buy it so you are not wrecked when the system sneezes. Treat it like fire insurance, not a scratch-off ticket. Nobody buys home insurance hoping for a house fire. They buy it so they can sleep at night. Same thing here. A small stack of real metal can turn a crisis into a headache instead of a knockout punch. Step 2, get clear on what you're actually buying. There is paper silver, and there is real silver. Paper silver lives in apps, ETFs, and fancy terms. It is easy to trade, but it lives inside the same system you are worried about. Real silver lives in your hand, in your safe, in a place you control. Coins, bars, stuff you can drop on a table and hear the sound. In a true squeeze, paper gets weird first. Delays, fine print, new rules. Physical just sits there, silent and heavy. That is why serious people use both eyes. One eye on the chart, one eye on the shelf. If the chart says calm but the shelves say empty, trust the shelves. Step 3, size your move like an adult, not 0. Not all in. Pick a number that lets you breathe if you are early or wrong. Maybe that is 5% of your savings, maybe 10. The point is simple. If silver dropped in half tomorrow, you would be annoyed, not ruined. If it doubled, you would be grateful, not a genius. That is how grown-ups play this game. With enough skin in the game to care, not so much that they lose their mind. Step 4, do not flex your stack online. Silver is not a flex, it is a shield. You do not post your alarm code on social media. Do not post your safe either. Quiet money survives longer. Step 5, understand this is not just about metal, it is about mindset. A squeeze is a stress test for your priorities. Do you want stuff, or do you want options? Do you want the newest toy? Or the ability to tell a broken system, no thanks? Real assets give you that option. They give you a little bit of walkaway power, and that is worth more than another streaming subscription and a new gadget. Here is what you do with all of this, not tomorrow, not someday, tonight. Step 1, sit down and add up what you actually have in cash and savings, not the pretend number in your head, the real one on your statements. Then ask one brutal question. If the system glitched for a month, how exposed am I? If banks froze, if cards failed, if prices jumped again, would I be fine, stressed, or wrecked? The answer to that question matters more than any price target. Step 2, pick your personal buffer. Maybe that is a few weeks of bills in cash. Maybe that is a small stack of silver you can touch. The number is up to you, but write it down. Because goals you do not write down are just wishes. Step 3, if you decide silver should be part of that buffer, keep it boring. Stick to simple stuff. Basic coins and bars from real dealers, not sketchy hype. No crazy leverage, no get-rich-by-Friday plans. You are building armor, not a lottery ticket. Step 4. Talk to your family, not in do mode, in adult mode. Explain that the world is getting louder and weirder. Explain that you are making small moves so chaos does not run your life. Kids, partners, parents, they do better when they know there's a plan. Step 5. Do not wait for permission from the people who broke the system. They are not going to knock on your door and say, now is the time to protect yourself. They are too busy protecting themselves. This is on you. If this hit you in the gut, do one thing when this video ends. Before you scroll to the next clip, hit subscribe, not for ego, for updates, because this squeeze is not a one-day story. It is a slow grind, and most people will only wake up when it's too late. Here on the Silent Ledger, the job is simple. Track the cracks, decode the lies, and show you where regular Americans still have a shot to stand on something real. Silver is just the opening chapter. The debt, the banks, the dollar, they're all tied together. And over the next few months, we are going to walk through every single piece. So if you feel like the ground is shifting under your feet, you're not crazy, you are early. And in a squeeze, early is the only edge that still works. This is the Silent Ledger. Take care of your family, stack a little sanity, and I will see you in the next one.